be ahead of our targets. We've signed up and been a leader in even more aggressive RGGI targets. We're going to use everything at our disposal to move forward with wind and solar and renewables. But I'm disappointed and saddened by the lack of leadership from the national level, because I know from talking to governors, and I'm not going to name names, if they had some cover on a political level from the highest levels of their party, it would be easier for them to do the right thing politically, and that's a problem. In Rhode Island, obviously, I'm incredibly proud to be the site of North America's first offshore wind farm. It's fantastic. Wouldn't have happened without the hard work of a lot of folks in here, particularly including CRNC and Grover's great work with the ocean mapping, Save the Bay. You guys played a huge role in making that happen, and it's real. As an aside, I was in New York City the other day, and I was working out on a machine, and an ad. I was, in the middle of someplace in New York City, and an ad came up about a picture of the offshore wind farm. And I was like, that's my state. So, and I started yelling on the treadmill, and the guy next to me thought I was crazy. And hey, that's Rhode Island.
I was flying home on the plane last night. Actually, ended up being early this morning. And the magazine that I was reading, its back cover, was a picture of our wind farm, and it was an advertisement for Citibank, which had broken out of its part.
I think that's what that was. I was trying not to fall off the treadmill, so I didn't focus so much on it. I just got so excited when I saw this and said, that's Rhode Island. I see Doug Betty's here. I've had a great time visiting solar companies that are growing. We're doing everything we can to support that. I was in Davies vocational school the other day. We're aligning our curriculum to make sure we teach folks. When I was there, they were doing installation of solar panels at the school and teaching the kids how to do this, because that's another piece of the puzzle. So we have to move forward aggressively. We're going to participate in regional procurement of renewables. Massachusetts is taking a leadership role in that. We're going to participate in that. So my message is we're doing everything we can in Rhode Island. Everything we can on a regional level, on a local level, technology level, job training level, to move as fast as we can towards more clean energy resources. By the way, this creates a lot of jobs. When the report came out a couple of years ago about job growth in the clean energy space, you'll have to make sure I don't get this wrong, but we were projecting like 14 or 15% increase in jobs.
Looking at Carol.
Help me.
66%.
No, that's what we got. But anyway, the point of it is, we projected something, and we came in at almost a 70% increase in job growth in renewable energy. So this is about jobs. Those kids at Davies are going to get good jobs. We have, I don't know if Wendy Mackey's here, but in the Maritime, we have a Real Jobs Initiative, a job training program with our Maritime folks. So for me, this is a no-brainer. It puts people to work, it makes Rhode Island a leader, and it makes Rhode Island a cleaner, better place to live.
3 degrees Fahrenheit increase in the waters of Narragansett Bay that very much affect the biota there. So, and now we've got all these storms. So I just have two questions from your perspective on this. The issue of resiliency. What more can we do from the vantage point of the U.S. Senate? And what do we need to do to make Rhode Island safer? And then I'll ask you, Governor.
The issue of resiliency is really going to be profound for us. We have two very significant flooding vulnerabilities. One we saw in the floods of 5 years ago when all of our rivers burst their banks. I built a big berm their sewage treatment plant to defend it from flooding. The town of Warren is here. They're in the middle of their study right now on what they do about their sewage treatment facility, which is located in the floodplain. But I was just told this morning, they're looking at 40 years, and then they have to abandon the site. It becomes unsalvageable at that point. So that's a lot of infrastructure work that needs to take place. And we enjoy a beautiful coastal environment. We enjoy a lot of beautiful coastal homes. There's going to be a lot of damage done with 9 feet of sea level rise to those coastal properties. That's going to be a huge loss. And behind, you go up 9 feet and you go back quite a long way, depending on where you are. Actually, Newport does reasonably well because it's kind of rocky coast. Western Newport becomes a new island, Castle Hill becomes an island, downtown gets flooded, but a lot remains. Go up to Barrington and take a look at the map. Barrington becomes the new Great Salt Lake at the top of the bay. And there's a lot of valuable property in Barrington that potentially becomes unmortgageable, uninsurable, and unsellable. And you got folks like Freddie Mac, the big federal mortgage insurance massive entity, now warning that when this hits those coastal property values, when you start to not be able to mortgage, insure, or sell, the resulting economic crash, they expect to be worse than the 2008 mortgage meltdown. We lived through that here in Rhode Island. We got hit hard. We got knocked to our knees by that and struggled back to our feet. To have to go through that again, and now on climate, and it's going to be much worse in Rhode Island than other states just because of our geography. We're so concentrated there. So it's really, really vital to us that we get ahead of these issues and look at these, what's these storms mean.
After Hurricane Harvey, Irma, and Maria, are some of your colleagues also?
They're getting there. They're getting there. I've got 2 colleagues from Louisiana who are Republicans. I don't want to talk about this too much, but they see their governor declare the coast of Louisiana a state of emergency. They see the papers in Louisiana reporting on how towns and properties are having to be abandoned because they're being lost to the rising seas. They're also sinking down there as well, which doesn't help them either. So it's gotten a lot more real, and I have had many private conversations with senators saying, how can they deny it still when all these storms? Well, how about you? Well, I know I'm getting there with you. Just kidding. That's kind of the conversation we have. It made a big difference, though. It made a big difference, and I think the fact that so much of the just kind of plain regular neutral news, like the Weather Channel stuff about it, was actually talking about climate change and what was coming and how it was going to be worse and all of that. So it has had an effect, but to Todd Stern's point earlier, there's not an appreciation yet for the immediacy and scale of this problem. They think that they can kind of tiptoe their way into it and it's going to be okay.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, keep your fingers crossed. I don't think that. I think we've got to lean in way, way harder.
By the way, I agree with everything Sarah said, but this is a political problem, which is people, on a day like today, when the sun is out and everything looks good, it's hard to convince the average person that resiliency is a crisis, climate change is a crisis, and we have to take action today. We have to, after Sandy or Harvey or capture people's attention for a period of, not the people in this room, but decision makers, whatnot. So the challenge for all of us is to figure out how do we bring the crisis forward, even listening to the senator talk. That will happen to Barrington if we don't get ourselves organized. But when people hear 20, 30 years from now, and they're facing a real problem today, it's politically a challenge to motivate action. What can we do here in Rhode Island? I think we're doing some pretty good things, and there's a lot more to do. Earlier this year, I signed an executive order creating the state's first ever resiliency officer. I hope Sean's here. I know he was here earlier. This is exciting. You know, it's a full-time person who all he's going to do is think about how to make Rhode Island more resilient and draw upon all of the other resources. You know, more than any other issue I deal with, this requires a system-wide, you know, Rhode Island system-wide approach. So for my own team, it's the Department of Health helping us think about how to deal with the extreme heat and the health issues associated with that. We now have a food czar. We're in the state of the country with the food czar. I think Sue might be here. You know, it's about our food supply and making sure that's sustainable. Of course, Gina, DEM, Grover, we talked about stormwater, wastewater, treatment. So I tasked the new resiliency officer, and I thought it was important. I did a executive board early in the year to do a cybersecurity officer, full-time person reporting to me. It's important to coordinate our efforts, and the same thing with resiliency officer. And so he has, working with the team until next July, to come back to me with a statewide resiliency action plan. And again, we're all going to have to play our role. Businesses, small businesses, big businesses, and there's a few folks in here who've been helping us figure out resiliency in the manufacturing sector. So I'm excited. I mean, I am excited that, you know, you said, Sheldon, look, we're the ocean state. 27 out of 39 of our cities and towns are coastal, 400 miles of coastline. It's who we are. We have a vested interest, a special, unique interest in going at resiliency in a real way. And we're going to do everything we can to do it.
Thanks, Governor. So the question is, can we reasonably expect to hit those goals?
Yes, I think so. First of all, I think that bold and aggressive goals matter. You know, it's like in my position, certainly I can't do all of this work, but if we set a goal and we have shared values, then it's a system-wide approach and everybody is pulling on the oar in the same direction. And again, I think that meeting the challenge of climate change, more than almost anything, with the possible exception of the opioid crisis, requires everybody to do their part. There's no one department. You know, fixing the roads, that's primarily DOT. This is across the board, and it's advocacy groups and whatnot. So anyway, I'm a big believer in set a goal, the community reacts to it, and we push ourselves in that direction on every front. I do think we can hit there. I do think we can hit the goals. We're doing very well towards the short-term goal. You know, obviously, the next tranche of goal is harder. And I think we have to get more serious about transportation if we're going to realistically be able to hit it. And so that's something that, you know, Carol's team and I are going to have to work even harder on because the emissions of vehicles and transportation are real. And that's something that I think probably is an honest assessment to say if we don't have a more robust TCI program, it's going to be hard to hit the next tranche. But yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. I think we can do it.
Thank you. Studying proposals in regard to what the current administration calls ending the war on coal.
Yeah.
Could you comment on how those impact the energy market and just give us your perspective?
Well, the dumbest one, which is a high bar in this crowd, has been this notion that Secretary Perry has fired over to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission saying, we want you to figure out a way to pay more for companies that have coal sitting around so that they can burn it. To really understand how dumb that is, though, you have to have a little bit of the backstory, which I won't dwell on because I think everybody in this room knows it. But the fossil fuel industry has set up a huge operation, an apparatus of climate denial. And in order to be effective with their climate denial, they have these messages that they have very carefully tested that, if they're delivered frequently, create doubt in the public mind about the reality of climate science. It was never the intention of the fossil fuel industry in creating those messages to have them be true. That was not a part of the equation. They were only designed to be effective at creating doubt about climate change and slowing up progress and giving their flags talking points. So now they have a problem where they have all these positions and they're trapped in their nonsense that was created for public relations purposes, not because it's true. So now they have to pretend that a coal plant is more reliable than wind. And the talking point is, there's that coal plant burning away. As long as you've got a big enough pile of coal, you're good forever. And there's wind. On a day where there's not a lot of wind, you're not going to get any energy, right? Obvious. Yeah, until you go to Iowa, which is 35% wind and climbing, and talk to the system operator who runs their grid and says, it's actually easy to design the algorithm that lets us know how much of our wind is actually base load. They count wind as base load in Iowa. This is not the Sierra Club. This is the system operator for the grid. And the same is true with solar. You can bake it into your mix in a way that it provides real capacity, and you add batteries and it's real capacity 24/7. So it's founded on this totally phony notion that clean power, renewable power, wind and solar aren't reliable power. And I was really glad to see it got a very cool reception from the sitting FERC commissioners, and a gaggle of former FERC commissioners, Republican and Democrat alike, have just written a public letter saying, that's ridiculous.
As well as
And even today, economically, it makes no sense. So, back to the point about the renewables are actually very reliable once you can run something as simple as an algorithm that charts what amount of it is absolutely reliable base load. But on the other side, Break Point was a coal plant. It went down for a year because the coal silo fell in on the plant. They have scheduled and unscheduled outages at coal plants all the time. One of the biggest coal plants in Tennessee had to close because global warming had raised the temperature of the river so much that the water coming in wouldn't cool the plant adequately, so they had to dial back their output. That's not reliable. So, it kind of makes you want to bang your head against the wall when you see a purported grown-up who is in a position of responsibility, like the Secretary of Energy of the United States of America, fire off something that, if you know at all what you're talking about, is flagrantly stupid. It's just really embarrassing to see. But it shows two things. One, the power of the fossil fuel industry to get people to believe this nonsense that was never created to be true. And second, on the brighter side, there's actually a lot of pushback when it's stupid enough. From Republican appointees on the commission now, and from former Republican appointees on the commission. And around the Senate, a lot of my Republican colleagues, their response to it is,
It's actually, one of the most hopeful things you're saying is that these policies are so outrageous that they ally everyone else to actually be rational.
Yep.
It's too bad it has to get so outrageous though. Before we get a modicum of rationality.
You'd like there to be a better way, right?
Right.
So we have, we're wrapping up, so I'm going to ask one last question, Governor, and ask you to turn it into your closing statement.
Okay.
So the question is really general, which is, you're talking a lot about reacting to federal changes. Could you tell us more about what we can do at a state level to confront climate change?
So I think we just have to continue to do what we're doing. Here's what I'd say. If we execute, if we are successful in hitting the goals that we talked about today, come up with a carbon fee system and a market on a regional basis that we feel good about, or get it done on a national level. If we actually hit the RGGI targets, which we signed up for, and continue to invest in technology with some of the proceeds, if we have a resiliency action plan next summer and begin to really, execute on it. If we hit the goals set out in the lead by example, I love nothing more than driving down the highway and seeing DOT changing the light bulbs. It's simple but important, it matters. So, and on and on and on. If we do continue the work we're doing and achieve the goals, if we hit our 1,000 megawatt goal, going from 100 to 1,000 in a handful of years is not a small task. And as I say, it's going to require us to do everything. And participating in regional RFPs and putting forward a mix of affordable, renewable, clean energy resources for Rhode Island. If we execute in a collective way, businesses, nonprofits, every department of government, I feel great about our future. I do. I worry still. I worry about the political realities of, as I said earlier, on a gorgeous sunny day, are we all appropriately, urgently focused on getting ready for rising seawater and rising temperatures? We're going to hit and exceed CPP targets, but if the politics doesn't allow, but right now there are 16 Democratic governors in America, 16. The majority